What if the thing keeping you up at night, that deep, burning ache in your joints, that heaviness in your legs, that stiffness in your back that greets you every single morning, what if the answer to all of that wasn't found inside a pharmacy? What if it was sitting on a shelf, misunderstood, underestimated, and almost completely ignored by the mainstream medical world? Not because it doesn't work, but precisely because it works too well to be profitable. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like something you've heard before, and I know you've probably been disappointed before. That's exactly why I need you to stay with me. Because today, I'm not going to give you a miracle. I'm going to give you something far more valuable than that. I'm going to give you the truth, explained the right way, backed by what we actually know, and applied in a way that makes sense for your body, your age, and your life right now. My name is Dr. David. I've spent a long time studying how the human body, especially the aging body, responds to inflammation, pain, and the cumulative damage of living, not just in textbooks, at the bedside, in real conversations with real people who were tired of being told that their pain was just part of getting older. And I can tell you something with complete confidence. It doesn't have to be that way. Not for everyone. Not for you. Now, before I go any further, I want to say something clearly. Everything I share in this video is based on real verifiable science. If I'm not certain about something, I won't say it as fact. I don't invent studies. I don't fabricate statistics. What I give you here is what the science actually says, filtered through years of clinical thinking and human experience. That is the only way I know how to help. So, let's talk about what's really happening inside your body when you feel pain. Let's talk about what inflammation actually is, why it becomes your enemy as you age, and why the oil I'm about to describe to you might be one of the most powerful allies your body can have, especially if you use it the right way, at the right time, every single night. Here's what I want you to understand first. Inflammation is not your enemy. It's your body's emergency response system. When you injure yourself, when a pathogen enters your system, when something threatens the integrity of your cells, your immune system floods that area with inflammatory signals, proteins, enzymes, immune cells, all of them working to protect you. That is a beautiful process. That is survival. But here's where it goes wrong. In the aging body, that system doesn't always know when to stop. The signal gets stuck in the on position. Scientists call this phenomenon inflammaging, a term that captures the idea of chronic, low-grade inflammation that comes with age. It's not dramatic like an infection. It's quiet. It's persistent. And it is one of the most destructive forces at work in your body right now if you are over 50 and not actively addressing it. Chronic inflammation has been linked through decades of peer-reviewed research to conditions like arthritis, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, and yes, persistent, relentless pain that medication barely touches. The joints ache because of it. The muscles feel heavy because of it. The mornings feel harder because of it. And the standard response, the one most of us were raised on, is to reach for an anti-inflammatory drug, a pill, something that blocks the inflammatory pathway from the outside. Those pills work. I'm not going to pretend they don't, but they also come with costs. Gastrointestinal irritation, cardiovascular stress with long-term use, kidney considerations. And they address the symptom, not the root. They don't recalibrate the system. They just suppress the alarm without fixing the wiring. That is the gap that nature, in some very specific, very potent forms, can help fill. Now I want you to comment below before I go further. Tell me your age and tell me where you're watching from. I ask because I want to understand who is here with me today. Every single one of you watching this is fighting something. Pain, stiffness, fatigue, that feeling that your body is working against you instead of for you. And knowing who you are helps me serve you better. So drop your age and your city in the comments right now. And if this content is helping you or someone you love, hit that subscribe button and leave this video a like. It tells me to keep going. It tells the algorithm to show this to someone else who needs it. It costs you nothing and it means everything. Now, let's talk about the oil. Copaiba. If you've never heard of it, you're not alone. It comes from the resin of a tree, the Copaiba tree, native to South America, particularly the Amazon basin. For centuries, indigenous peoples in Brazil and surrounding regions used this resin to address wounds, skin conditions, and deep-seated pain. Modern science came along and started asking why, and what they found inside that resin is genuinely remarkable. Copaiba resin oil is extraordinarily rich in a compound called Beta-caryophyllene. This is where the science gets interesting, and I want you to pay close attention, because this is not something most people, not even most doctors, know about. Beta-caryophyllene is what's called a sesquiterpene. It's a naturally occurring molecule found in a number of plants, including black pepper, cloves, and yes, copaiba, in very high concentrations. What makes beta-caryophyllene exceptional is that it is the first known plant-derived compound that directly activates the body's CB2 receptors. These are part of the endocannabinoid system, a regulatory network that affects inflammation, pain perception, immune response, and cellular stress. The CB2 receptor, specifically, is heavily expressed in immune cells and nervous tissue. When it's activated, it produces anti-inflammatory effects. And the important thing here, the thing that separates beta-caryophyllene from many other compounds, is that this mechanism is documented. It's been published, peer-reviewed, not invented, not speculated. This is real biology. Multiple studies have examined copaiba's anti-inflammatory properties in laboratory settings. What researchers consistently found is that the beta-caryophyllene in copaiba oil downregulates the production of certain inflammatory cytokines, the molecular messengers that tell your body to keep the inflammation going. In simple language, it speaks directly to the cells driving your inflammation and asks them, gently but firmly, to stand down. Now I want to introduce you to the second key player in tonight's ritual, Wintergreen. This one you may have smelled before without knowing what it was. That sharp, cool, medicinal scent in certain muscle rubs and liniments. Wintergreen essential oil contains something called methyl salicylate, a naturally occurring compound that, structurally speaking, is very similar to aspirin. In fact, aspirin was originally synthesized from salicylic acid, a close relative. Methyl salicylate, applied topically, penetrates the skin and provides a genuine analgesic effect at the site of application. It creates a sensation of warmth and then deep relief. It interrupts the pain signal locally, and it does so potently, which is also why it must always be diluted before use. Straight wintergreen oil is too concentrated for direct skin contact, but diluted correctly, it becomes one of the most effective topical pain solutions that nature has produced. And the third member of this trio, peppermint oil. The menthol in peppermint does something different and fascinating. It activates cold receptors in the skin, specifically a channel called TRPM8, which creates the sensation of cooling without actually changing your temperature. This cooling sensation blocks pain signals along the same nerve pathway, a process sometimes described as gate control. Your nervous system can only process so many signals at once. Menthol effectively crowds out the pain signal. It also improves local circulation, which helps deliver oxygen and nutrients to inflamed tissue and helps carry away the byproducts of inflammation. It is, in every practical sense, a natural circulatory massage. 3 oils, 3 different mechanisms. And together, used correctly in a nightly ritual, they create a layered, intelligent approach to managing inflammation and pain, not by attacking the body's systems, but by working with them. Now, I need to stop right here and be very direct with you, because what I'm about to say is important. Pain, chronic pain, the kind that doesn't go away, the kind that wakes you up at night, the kind that has slowly reshaped your life and limited what you can do, is not just uncomfortable. It is a signal your body is sending because something inside needs attention. When we ignore that signal, when we push through it and suppress it and hope it eventually goes quiet, we are not solving the problem. We are borrowing time we may not have. I've seen it happen. Inflammation that goes unaddressed doesn't just sit still. It spreads. It deepens. It begins to affect tissues and systems that were never part of the original problem. That is the real danger of chronic pain. Not the pain itself, but what drives it and what happens when it's left to run unchecked. If you are ready to stop merely surviving the pain and start actually addressing the inflammation at its root. The first link in the description of this video has a complete method, a structured, natural approach specifically designed for people dealing with chronic inflammation and body pain. It is not a promise of a cure. It is a serious, evidence-aligned protocol. But please, do not wait until the pain gets worse to look for solutions. That window does not stay open forever. The link is there. Use it. Now let's talk about the how, because one of the most important things I want you to take away from this video is not just what to use, but when and how to use it. And this is where most people make the mistake that costs them their results. The timing matters profoundly, and here's why. Your body does not work the same way at midnight as it does at noon. We have biological cycles, circadian rhythms, that govern virtually every cellular process, including inflammation. Research has shown that inflammatory markers in the body tend to peak in the early morning hours. That is why so many people with arthritis or joint pain report that they feel worst when they first wake up. The body has been producing more inflammatory signals during certain phases of sleep, but the hours just before sleep, the period of preparation, of slowing down, are when the body is entering its repair mode. This is when cellular regeneration increases, when certain repair hormones are released, when the immune system shifts from active defense to quiet maintenance. Applying your anti-inflammatory oils at this exact moment means you are delivering those compounds precisely when the body is most receptive to using them. You are giving the repair crew the tools they need at the moment they clock in for the night shift. This is not speculation. The science of chronopharmacology, the study of how timing affects drug and compound effectiveness, is a legitimate and growing field. And while most of the detailed research involves pharmaceutical compounds, the underlying principle applies equally to bioactive natural compounds like beta-caryophyllene and methyl salicylate. Timing is not a bonus tip. It is a core part of the protocol. So here is what a responsible nightly routine with these oils looks like. You need a carrier oil first. This is non-negotiable for the essential oils. Copaiba resin oil can sometimes be applied more directly, but Wintergreen must always be diluted, and Peppermint should be too for sensitive skin. A good carrier oil, something like sweet almond oil, which is light, absorbs well, and is gentle, works well here. You're looking for roughly a tablespoon of carrier oil as your base. Into that, you add 2 to 3 drops of Copaiba oil, then 2 drops of Wintergreen, then 2 drops of Peppermint. These are not precise doses backed by clinical trials. I want to be honest with you. These are practical guidelines drawn from established aromatherapy and topical use protocols. The goal is to deliver enough of each compound to the skin to allow penetration and local action without overwhelming the system. Now the application itself. Don't just dab it on and walk away. Use circular, slow, deliberate pressure. The friction you generate warms the skin. Warm skin means dilated surface vessels. Dilated vessels means better absorption. You're essentially using your own hands to drive the compounds deeper into the tissue. Spend 2 to 3 minutes on any area that needs attention. If it's your knees, work around the joint, not just on it. If it's your lower back, use broad, slow movements across the muscle groups. If it's your hands or wrists, interlace your fingers and work the oil into the spaces between joints. When you choose your oils, quality is everything. Look for Copaiba oil that specifies beta-caryophyllene content, ideally 15% or higher. For Wintergreen, look for oil labeled as Gaultheria procumbens or Gaultheria fragrantissima. Those are the authentic botanical sources. Avoid blends that don't specify their components. And for Peppermint, look for high menthol content. Above 40% is a reliable standard. These specifications are not marketing jargon. They are the markers of a product that will actually do what you need it to do. How quickly will you notice something? Honestly, it varies. Some people, especially those whose inflammation is moderate and whose skin absorbs well, notice a reduction in discomfort within the first few nights. Others need 2 to 3 weeks of consistent nightly use before the effects become clear. What the research on beta-caryophyllene and chronic inflammation suggests is that cumulative use matters. The compound builds its effect over time as it repeatedly modulates the inflammatory pathway. This is not an overnight fix. It is a nightly practice. The difference is important. Now, I want to address something directly. Are there people for whom this approach is not appropriate? Yes. If you have a known allergy to salicylates, the family of compounds that includes methyl salicylate, then Wintergreen is not for you, and you should speak with your doctor before using it. If you are on blood thinners, please be aware that methyl salicylate can have absorption effects that interact with anticoagulant medications. If you are pregnant, this is not the time to be experimenting with essential oil protocols without medical guidance. And if you have open skin, wounds, or severe dermatitis in the area you want to treat, wait until those have healed. These are real safety considerations, not disclaimers I'm adding to cover myself. They are things you deserve to know. I also want to address the question that is probably forming in some of your minds right now. Why isn't my doctor telling me this? Why hasn't this been on the news? Why, if Copaiba's Beta-caryophyllene really does activate CB2 receptors and reduce inflammatory cytokine production, is it not a household name in pain management? The answer is straightforward and a little uncomfortable. Natural compounds cannot be patented. You cannot own Copaiba. You cannot own a molecule that grows in a South American tree. The pharmaceutical model is built on exclusivity. A company invests in research because it can own the result and recoup its investment through a product that only it can sell. When you can't patent something, there's no financial return on large-scale clinical trials, so they don't get funded. So the science stays in journals that most people never read, so it never makes it into the mainstream conversation. That doesn't make the science less real. It just means you have to go looking for it. And that is part of why I am here, to bring that conversation to you in a way that's honest, clear, and practically useful. Around this point in so many conversations I have, people ask me something important. They say, "Doctor, I'm doing everything right. I'm watching what I eat. I'm trying to move more. I'm using these oils, but the pain is still winning. What else can I do?" And the honest answer is that for some people, topical support alone is not enough. Some bodies have deeper systemic inflammation that needs a more comprehensive approach. Nutritional, supplemental, and structured. The kind of approach that addresses not just where the pain lives on the surface, but what is feeding it at the cellular level. If that sounds like you, if you've been managing pain for years and feel like you've exhausted your options, I want to be very clear about something. You have not exhausted your options, but the window for managing this before it escalates further is not unlimited. Chronic inflammation has a momentum. It doesn't reverse itself, and the longer it continues unchecked, the deeper its effects go, into your joints, your cardiovascular system, your nervous system. That is not meant to frighten you. It's meant to be honest with you, because the people I have seen manage their pain successfully are the ones who didn't wait for a crisis. They acted before it got worse. If you are ready to take that step, the first link in the description of this video is a structured, natural protocol built specifically for people in this situation. It addresses inflammation from the inside out in a way that supports and complements the nightly oil ritual you're learning today. Please don't scroll past it. This kind of information in this kind of format with this level of support is not something you find every day. And the cost of doing nothing, of continuing to live in pain while the inflammation does its quiet cumulative damage, is far higher than you want to pay. Let me take a step back and offer you something broader. Because this isn't just about oils and inflammation. It's about a philosophy of aging. One that refuses to accept suffering as inevitable. One that understands the body is not working against you. It is doing its best with the inputs it has been given. Change the inputs. Change the outcome. The body you are living in right now has remarkable regenerative capacity. Even now, even if you are 65, 70, 75, the science on cellular repair, on the plasticity of the inflammatory system, on the responsiveness of tissue to appropriate input, all of it points in the same direction. It's not too late. It is never too late to give your body better tools. The nightly oil ritual is one tool. It is simple. It costs very little. It takes 5 minutes and done consistently. Night after night, with quality oils, correct dilution, deliberate application, it provides real, measurable support to a body that is fighting inflammation around the clock. But there is another dimension I want you to think about. The skin you are applying these oils to is not just a barrier. It is a living organ. The largest organ in your body. It breathes, it communicates, it reflects what is happening inside. When you take 5 minutes every night to apply oil to your own joints, to your own hands, to the places that hurt, you are not just delivering compounds. You are making a declaration. You are saying, my body is worth this attention. My comfort matters. My health is a priority, not an afterthought. That shift in mindset is not small. I have seen it change outcomes. Patients who began to treat their own care as a priority, who created rituals, who showed up for themselves every single night, they healed differently. Not because of magic, because intention and consistency are in their own way biological forces. Before I wrap up, subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, hit the bell, because every week I bring information like this directly to you. No pharmaceutical agenda, no shortcuts, no sensationalism. Just honest, careful, humanized medicine for people who deserve more than a rushed 10-minute appointment. This channel exists for you, and I need your presence here to keep it going. Now, let me close with this. Tonight, when everything quiets down, when the lights are low and the house is still, I want you to try something. Mix your oils. Warm them between your palms. Close your eyes for just a moment and pay attention to where you hurt. Then, slowly and deliberately, give that place some care. Not because it will solve everything in one night, but because beginning matters. Because showing up for yourself, even in small ways, is how healing starts. The pain you are carrying is real. The inflammation driving it is real. And the solution, whether it's this nightly ritual, the protocol in the description, or a combination of everything you are learning, begins with a decision. A decision to stop accepting suffering. A decision to act. You made it to the end of this video. That tells me something about you. It tells me you are serious, that you are ready to do something differently. Subscribe to this channel, leave a like, and if this spoke to something real in your life today, share it, because someone you love might need to hear it too. I'll see you in the next one.